Good afternoon. This is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa, and we continue for today. During the upcoming 15 minutes, we are going to discuss the activities of the State Archive in the Odesa region during the war. Our guest is Stepan Zhelyaskov, Deputy Head of the Department of the State Archive of Odesa region. Good afternoon, Stepan. Thank you for joining us today. Could you just tell us how do you perform your activities during the full-scale war? And I'd like to say that the State Archive, so the state institutions, have never stopped its activities since the 24th of February last year. We try to do everything we can, but unfortunately, we just cannot accept the citizens and the reading halls. They are limited in their activities in one of the buildings. And the second reading hall is operative. And we have as many requests as it was before the war. It's just that we saw the decrease of requests during the first days of the full-scale invasion, but then we get to the previous year. What is the most important and interesting topics for the citizens of Odesa region? So these are requests related to social and legal issues. Why is it important? It is due to the fact that this is related to social protection of the most vulnerable strata of our society. So these are people with disabilities, elderly people, large families, IDPs, etc. So these are requests related to ensuring legal rights of the citizens to receive compensations, benefits, pensions, etc. And to understand the whole picture, I'd like to say that apart from the social and legal requests, there are other types of requests, like individual requests, topical requests. And some property issues and some specific requests. So we have 5 categories of requests. Individual requests can be classified in biographical and also the history of the family. If it's a biography, then this is for the one person. This is genealogy. This is for families. As for the topical requests, these are the requests for specific information during specific periods of time. Property requests just to prove property rights, and non-specific requests are self-explanatory. We have the whole system of archival institutions in Ukraine. We have our own expertise and specifications. If we receive requests which are not related to our archival institutions, we refer them to those institutions that can help people. As for the history of Odesa region, what is the most popular topics related to the history of Odesa region among people? As for the amount of requests, we have a lot of social legal requests and biography requests. What you're now asking, these are topical requests. Usually they are related to a huge number of the documents to be studied. That's why taking into consideration the amount of people working in our archive, this is one of the biggest regional archival institution in Ukraine. We do not have enough people to be able to meet such requests. This is the history of the settlements, the history of institutions. This is the history of buildings. And these requests can be satisfied partially because we don't have time and we don't have enough human resources. The same about genealogy, because usually they require a lot of time, and we need to study a lot of documents for the last 100 years and even more. And we have the documents dating back to the 18th century. This is different types of books and records. So we can only consult and provide methodological support, and we can meet the requests of people if we have enough time and human resources. I think that one of the topics which is of interest for people is the Second World War. Yes, and this topic is also popular when it comes to social and legal requests. Because we actually should remember about benefits provided to the veterans of the Second World War. We will still have them. The children of the Second World War, the people who were deported for forced labor, people on the occupied territories, and we still have them because those could be small children that witnessed all those things in 1941 and 1945. And our state protects such persons, provides them financial support, benefits, compensations, additional payments to their pensions. And the Second World War is also an interesting topic because now our Ukrainian history and geography have been reconsidering the events just to step aside from the Soviet approach in interpreting events of the Second World War. So people are not only interested in the information related to social and legal requests, but also historians, local historians are interested in our documents, those who still study the history of the Second World War. As for the statistics, do you have information about how many requests have you received since 24th of February last year? Yes, we have this information, and I could also compare this information. As for this year, as of the 1st September 2023, the State Archive have been able to process more than 4,000 requests. The general amount of our employees is 40+ people, but not all of them deal with requests. We have a lot of departments having their own tasks. So we have 6-7 persons which are responsible for dealing with the requests from citizens. Out of the general number of requests, we have worked with 2,700 biography requests. The runner-up is legal and social requests, more than 1,000, 100 topical property requests, more than 100, more than 50 related to genealogy, and more than 300 requests which are not related to our activities. If we compare this with the last year, we can speak about the increasing trend almost in 2 times. As of the 1st September last year, we have implemented 2,500, and this year we have more than 4,000. 568 social and legal, almost 200 topical requests, 50 genealogy, more than 40 property, and more than 100 requests related to our activities. So these are the key indicators of our activities. And I'm done with numbers for today. And please believe me, this is quite a big amount of work. Unfortunately, I don't have statistics of the regional archives from other regions, but even if we compare this with the amount of the personnel that we have, our archive is rather big. As for the Soviet documents and documents before the revolution, in our archive we store the documents of the fifth part of Ukraine, because during times of the Russian Empire, Odesa was in the center of the administration entity encompassing modern Kirovograd, Kherson, Odessa regions, and Crimea. Everything was subordinate to Odessa. And that's why all this information is stored in our archive. These documents tell us about the history of this territory. This is the whole south of our state. You mentioned that there is a lack of employees in your archive. Why is it so? We're a structural unit subordinate to the Odessa regional administration. And we are one of the biggest when it comes to structural units. But we do not deal only with the administration functions, but we also work with requests, with managing documents, everything which is related to archival activities. So when it actually comes to case of personnel, this covers everything. Do you have often such situations? And the last time, it was 2 years ago. But thanks to our regional administration, last year, we could get additional resources last years because we showed our reports and we were able to prove that we need to have additional people. What about young people? Do they join you? Yes, our archive is rather young. In our department, we have 11 employees, and half of them are people of around 30. So that's why we can say that young people are interested in our activities. These are graduates of our historical department of the Odesa National University. And I'm also a graduate of the historical department of the Mechnikov Odessa National University. So generally, these are people who studied history. We don't have unfortunately, employees with the archival background. We see how Russian occupiers have been destroying cultural heritage of Ukraine, including state archives. It is very important to digitize all the documents. Do you have any success with these activities? The State Archive of the Odessa region have concluded an agreement with the International Genealogy Corporation Family Search from the United States. This organization supports us with their funds, equipment, and personnel. They digitize birth certificates, which is the golden fund of the historical documents. And these are the birth certificates from Kherson since the end of 18th century till 1920. This is a genealogy material which is very valuable. And as soon as the work is finished, we will gradually upload these digitized copies of the documents to our website. How do you think how much time is needed to create the fully digitized database? Does it depend on funds? It depends on funds, but I would also like to say that before Soviet times, Odesa was the third biggest city in the Russian Empire, which was one of the biggest in the world back then. And we have a lot of documents, much more than other regional archives. So if nowadays almost all regional archives have finished this digitizing work, we have not because we work not that effective, just because we have at least two times documents in 2 times more than other regional archives. We have several thousand of such birth books. So we have very rare documents in the State Archive of the Odessa region. And does the State Archive of Ukraine support you? Do you mean the State Archival Service? Yes. Yes, they help us. And the head of the State Archival Service, since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, have made a lot of business trips abroad since the start of the full-scale invasion to conclude documents, agreements on cooperation, and also our cooperation with the family research is also the result of activities of the head of our archival service. As for requests, you've provided statistics. Do you have requests from foreign citizens? Yes. To answer this question, I need to say that we receive requests by ordinary mail, people addresses personally, and also by email. And most requests are sent to us by email from all over the world. And of course, we also have requests from our citizens who are now staying abroad. We also receive requests from scientists, researchers. As for the states, we mostly receive requests from the United States, Germany, Israel. And it is also related to the fact that these 3 countries have the biggest diaspora of Ukrainian citizens. And if they work in these countries as scientists or public officers, they still remember about our archive, and they also work on the topics related to the history of our area, because we have a lot of nationalities here, and our history is closely related to the history of Germany, Bulgaria, Greece, and we also receive a lot of requests from Bulgaria and Greece. We still have a lot of Bulgarian and Greek settlements, and we used to have a lot of German settlements. That's why we receive requests from other states. So foreign citizens are interested in the history of the Odessa region. not the Odesa region, because the Odesa region was established in 1932. They are interested in the history of the south of Ukraine in general. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I would like to remind that we've discussed the work of the State Archive in the Odesa region on the condition of the full-scale war. Media Center Ukraine Odessa will continue its work at 1 p.m.